everyone, welcome to another episode of Trigger Point In. My name is Meg and I'll be leading you through your practice. Today I'm filming for a client, so I'm going to film 3 different sections of things that they need to do because when you are trying to work through your patterns of tension and trying to make it a part of your routine, the key to doing that is actually doing it. And if you're going to try and do something for every bit of tension in your body every day, it's going to be time consuming and you're probably going to give up on that commitment at some point. So when I give homework to clients, I try and give just a couple exercises to do 3 or 4 times a week. So for the first day, we're going to be focusing on chest and shoulders, upper back, sort of this area. And then I'm going to do another day for hips and glutes. And then I'm going to do a third day for jaw, neck, jaw and neck, really, and that's it. So for each section, I'm going to try and go through the exercises relatively quickly, staying in each stretch or posture for 1 to 3 minutes rather than staying in for 5 minutes, which is how I normally teach my classes. So that's going to be the pace, and it can be something that you integrate into your routine and just keep coming back to and sort of switch from day 1, day 2, day 3 throughout your week. All right, so before we get into all of that, I'm going to do some box breath. And because each session that I'm offering here is going to be shorter, doing constant breath work throughout will give you the best benefit. You'll be most in tune with your body, you'll be the most relaxed. So yeah, do some box breath while you do these. And we'll get into that right now. So exhale all of your air. Inhale through your nose for 4, 3, 2, 1. Pause, holding your breath. 2, 1. Exhale is 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold your breath out. 2, 1. Inhale 4, 3, 2, 1. Pause 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale 4, 3, 2, 1. Pause 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale 4, 3, 2, 1. Pause 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale 4, 3, 2, 1. Pause 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale and keep that going. Inhale, pause, exhale, pause. And as you're getting into that breath cycle, just a couple more things about when in your day to schedule a shorter therapy session. I think before bed is a good time. Or if you're going to do it in the morning, shower first or do something to warm up your body first so that you're not getting into these deep stretches and these deep trigger points cold. So take a bath, take a shower. If you exercise in the morning, do it after you exercise. And then if you're going to do it before bed, your body will have already been moving throughout the day. If you shower before bed, and again, a good time to shower and then do your stretches and then go off to bed. All right, so you can keep that breath pattern going throughout this video. And like I said, we're going to start in the chest and upper back. And I'm going to start with the chest openers, the chest stretches. So I'll do the one on the ground first. I'm going to give 2 different variations. And wishbone pose is is the best stretch for your chest that you can do on the ground, and it's the most passive. So right cheek to the mat. You can actually, if you have a blanket or a pillow for underneath your head to make yourself more comfortable, support your pointy cheekbone. Get that underneath your head, and then you can start with your arm straight out to the right cheek on the mat, right arm out to the right, and then rolling onto your right side, bringing your knees over to the left. And then with a straight arm, it's more likely you'll be able to step your left foot behind you. So you're opening up in your hips, you're getting some nice twist in your spine. Should feel pretty nice. And then breathe into your chest here. Now, if you need more stretch, or if you're primarily feeling this in your bicep, you're going to put a 90-degree bend in your right arm. So fingertips face the same direction as your head. Elbow is still grounded, arm is fully relaxed here. You're not pressing the ground away, you're not trying to lift your arm. And then you can either stay on your side if that is enough stretch, or step your left foot behind you again. If you're somewhere in between, you can grab a bolster or a pillow and put your knees on top of that bolster or pillow, and that will roll you over just a little bit more without stepping your foot behind. It'll give you a little more stretch in that stretch. And if you don't have a timer, or you're not looking at a timer, you can stay in the stretch for 10 to 15 breaths before you roll back onto your belly, and then take the other side. So same thing, move my T out of the way. Left arm straight out to the left, rolling onto your side, coming into the semi-fetal position, and then maybe stepping the right foot behind you. And then if that is not enough stretch, 90-degree bend in the left elbow, maybe stepping that foot back, maybe keeping your knees stacked. And as you get into it, deep breaths, using that box breath to settle, to relax, to slow down. Again, check in to make sure you're not pressing the ground away with your left arm. Again, relax in your face, make sure your head is fully supported. If you need more support, if your neck is uncomfortable, make sure you get a firm enough pillow, a big enough pillow. All right. And then again, roll back onto your belly, and it can feel nice to press back into a child's pose after that shape. And then you can also do that stretch against the wall. For the other chest stretch, you're going to need a wall, and you'll obviously do it standing. Bringing your elbow against, this is a door frame, so having a corner or door frame to work with is obviously important. Elbow up in line with your shoulder, maybe a little bit above your shoulder. And then you can step one foot forward. It doesn't matter what foot it is. You're just doing it for stability. So whichever one you're more comfortable with, step forward and then lean into it, lunge into it until you feel a stretch in your shoulder and in your chest. And you want to keep your chest lifted, shoulder blades back, neck extended, proud chest. You're stretching into the posture you want to have. And then once you stretch here for a few breaths, start to tip forward, keeping that long spine. So my back isn't rounding, I'm just tipping my chest forward. And that is going to serve to pitch the arm back, right? That's the angle that you're trying to get, as if you're at the back of a pitcher's throw, right? And that angle with the chest stretch is going to stretch more specifically into your pec minor. And pec major is the muscle that brings the shoulders together on the front, right? Squeezing together. And pec minor, which is obviously smaller, minor, is going to be really in these creases of your shoulders. That is going to bring the shoulders down. So as if you were rolling the shoulder blades over the top of the shoulders and sort of getting that hunched shoulder posture. So both of those stretches together will help to open your chest up, let your arms hang right underneath your ears, and really work on keeping your sternum lifted. So a lot of us will stand and the sternum will be perfectly vertical, but that is not how our spine or our skeleton was designed, or evolved. The sternum should be lifted, so it's out at a pretty steep angle to the ground. So shoulders back, sternum lifted. That'll help your arms to hang off the back of your body rather than moving everything forward off the front of your body, which is much less ideal for your skeleton. All right, and then once you do this side, stay for a minute or two and do the pec minor variation. You can switch to the other side. So after you've stretched your chest, you can get into it with a lacrosse ball or tennis ball as well. So you want to get into pec major, and if you reach underneath your armpit, you can actually grab the edge of pec major, this sort of meaty muscle that goes down from the edge of your armpit and will go down all the way across your chest. You can grab that outer edge. And where we're going to have the lacrosse ball here is maybe a couple fingers width distance below the junction of your armpit, right on the edge of that pec minor muscle. So again, if you squeeze that muscle, you can feel the muscle fibers right on the most outer edge of that muscle. That is where you're going to want the lacrosse ball. And another thing to think about is you don't want it on top of the bone of the head of your shoulder, the head of your humerus. So you can sort of feel how your ribs start to slide back underneath and create that pocket in your arm. So you're in that area rather than on top of the bone of the head of your shoulder. All right, so I'll demo the right side first. Right cheek to the mat, right arm straight out to the side for this one. And then you may stay flat on your belly. You may also bring both knees over to the right to get some more pressure on that lacrosse ball. And coming back to your box breath, inhale, pause. Exhale, pause, letting your arm be fully heavy. Making sure that you're not pressing the ground away anywhere. And then ideally you stay until something changes, until you go from a lot of sensation to a little bit of sensation, or sensation dissipates completely. But try and stay for at least a minute. And if you have longer, of course, stay longer. And then when you're ready, you can come off of that lacrosse ball and get into the other side. So left arm will be straight out to the left cheek to the mat. Lacrosse ball again on the left side, in the edge of your pec muscle. So you can find that pec muscle, grab it, feel the outer edge of it, place the lacrosse ball there. Lay down, arm straight out to the left, in line with your shoulder, and then both knees over to the right. Full deep breaths.
And it's a good idea to have a routine of self-care, no matter what that looks like. Just giving yourself time to be quiet with yourself, and to listen to your body and to check in with what's going on in your mind. It can all be a part of a bigger self-care ritual, right? It's not just laying on a lacrosse ball. It's an opportunity to get to know yourself a little bit better, to see your reactions, to deal with discomfort, to notice what happens in your body when you are uncomfortable. All right, coming off of that lacrosse ball. Once you stretch the chest, trigger point in the chest, then you can get into your upper back. So as always, I like to stretch your chest, get that out of the way so it's not actively pulling your shoulders forward and pulling against the muscles of your upper back. And then we can get into a trigger point there. I'm suffering from some allergies right now. My face is puffy and my eyes are hurting and itchy. And I'm drinking some turmeric tea to try and help with that. All right. So for the upper back, we're going to start in the upper traps. So these meaty muscles on top of your shoulder, because they run up the back of the neck, attach into the base of the skull. And when our shoulders are all crunched up and tight, it tends to develop as a headache. It can create tension headaches. So if you find that your neck is always achy and you're getting headaches a lot, it's good to get into your upper trap. So again, finding that muscle by pinching it. You can pinch that meaty muscle on the ridge line of your shoulder. And then midway between the head of your shoulder and the corner of your neck, that is where you're going to want the lacrosse ball. So you can lay down, getting that lacrosse ball right behind that muscle. Scoot yourself into the lacrosse ball, get the amount of pressure that you want, and then lace your hands behind your head, let your elbows open up. And this arm position is usually a lot of sensation for people who have tension here. So if that doesn't work for you, you can either put a blanket underneath your elbow to lift it up, or you can unlace your hands and just goalpost your arms instead. You can utilize open mouth exhales as you get into it, using that breath release as an energetic release. It can help to release some tension, release some stress. Yeah, like I'm a little tight here right now, so I'm feeling it actually through my jaw and around the outside of my orbital socket, outside of my eye. And as you feel sensation dissipate, you can come out of it. And I know I said 10 to 15 breaths, and I said stay at least for a minute. But again, ideally, you're staying as long as you need to so that something changes, right? And if something changes in 5 seconds, if you get into it and you're like, wow, this is a lot of sensation, and 5 seconds later it goes away, great, you can be done on that side. All right. And then instead of just going right into the other side, I'm going to do the levator trigger point on this side first. So finding the top edge of your shoulder blade, you can drag your fingertips along that top edge, right where your supraspinatus is. Once you find your
inner corner of your shoulder blade, that is where you want the lacrosse ball. So just to the inside of your shoulder blade, up in that inner corner, can rest the lacrosse ball there, place the lacrosse ball there, and then maybe arms out to the side. Sometimes having your arms overhead is nice, or just more sensation. And I find that when I do put my arm overhead, I often need to support it on something because it doesn't want to come all the way to the ground with that lacrosse ball there. And again, you'll feel sensation where the tension in this muscle is flowing. So I'm feeling it sort of on the side of my neck below my ear. Again, I'm feeling it a little bit up into my jaw, and I'm feeling this one up in my forehead above my left eye. Make sure that your arm is fully relaxed, that you're not holding it up, you're not trying to keep your head in a position. If your head wants to flop over to the side, let it. All right, getting a good amount of relaxation there. I'm going to come out of it, and then to the other side of both the upper trap and the levator. And with the upper trap especially, you can move that lacrosse ball in towards the neck a little bit, or even out towards the head of the shoulder, if it's feeling more tense in one of those directions. It doesn't have to be perfectly in the middle, in the meat of the muscle. So I'm going to try bringing it in a little closer to my neck and see how that feels. So rather than out in the middle of that muscle, I'm going to roll it in. So it's pretty much right in the corner of my neck, right behind that muscle still. So not on top of it, or else it's just going to roll away. Right behind the muscle. And then same thing, place it where you want it. I like to scoop myself into the lacrosse ball a little bit. And then I'm going to lace my hands behind my head, let my elbows open up. Make sure that you're not holding your elbow up off the ground. And you can take this time to tune into what's happening with your breath. So of course you're going to still feel the sensation that is created in your shoulders and in your neck, but you can work on bringing your focus elsewhere, right? It's not like you're going to stop feeling what's going on in your shoulder, but you can notice the way your ribs expand with your inhale. You can feel your shirt moving on your skin. You can feel your ribs expanding into the mat beneath you. You can feel the way your belly lifts, feel that skin stretch. And notice the sensation of holding your breath. Notice if you get the urge to breathe. And then slowly exhale, feeling your ribs settle back down, your belly settle back down, your body can feel even heavier. And again, noticing the sensation of holding your breath out. Feeling that emptiness and that stillness.
And you can bring that lacrosse ball to the inner upper corner of your shoulder blade. And then maybe arm will rest overhead or out to the side, however you are most comfortable. And if you roll the lacrosse ball down from there, you'll be in rhomboid and middle trap. So movement of the lacrosse ball is fine. You can roll that lacrosse ball all along the inner edge of your shoulder blade and there'll be good stuff to work with. But if you only have a limited amount of time that you're willing to spend here, and you have been having neck pain and shoulder pain, and you do work at a desk, and you notice that your collarbones are up at an angle, getting the upper traps and levators will be the most helpful. But if you do have time, I always encourage staying as long as you have time for, as long as you're willing to, and really let it be an exploration in your body. All right, whenever you are ready, you can come off of that lacrosse ball. And that's everything for day 1. So we're going to move on to day 2, getting into the hips. For day 2, we're going to focus on getting into the quads, stretching the quads, getting into the Iliopsoas on the inside of the pelvis, and the TFL on the outside of the hips. So there's 2 different quad stretches that you can do. You can do one or the other and trade off weeks. So the first one I am going to use a block for, and you'll lay on your back, plant your feet on the ground, pick up your hips, and send that block underneath your butt. Make sure that it's underneath your butt, not underneath your lower back. So if you're feeling like your butt is sinking towards the ground, that's not it. So make sure it's really underneath the hard part of your sacrum. All right, and then left foot, moving it underneath the right leg. You can hold on to your foot. And bring your foot and your knee down towards the ground and relax here. So if this is too much stretch for you, let go of your foot and let it catch on the opposite ankle instead. You can keep holding onto your foot, and if you need more stretch, pull it closer to the opposite hip. So the closer your foot is to the opposite hip, the more stretch you're going to get. And then the effort here is to fully let that leg go. The more you relax, the more intense the stretch is going to get. But your knee will eventually touch the ground. Maybe not today, maybe not in the first couple weeks even. But it's not your skeleton that is holding you here. It's the tension in your muscles. So your knee can touch the ground, and as you continue to work with it and stretch into it, it will touch the ground. And with every exhale, you can let go of some grip in your leg and in your hip. Letting that leg get heavier and heavier. And if it gets to a point where it's too much sensation, you can grab a bolster or something and place it underneath your knee so that your knee can't go down any farther. And that support will help both with making sure you're not going past your edge from a tension standpoint or a sensation standpoint. And also it helps with your nervous system's ability to relax. When your leg is propped, your subconscious isn't worried about your leg sinking any farther to the ground. So it's not going to fight to hold it up and to resist the stretch. So you can get some of that resistance out of the way with a prop, and then after a while, you can take that prop out and your leg will relax towards the ground a little bit easier. Right. When you're ready, you can walk your foot back onto the mat. If you need to take your hips off of that block and get a little supine twist, you can. Don't pull your knees into your chest, please. It's not actually helping. It's just a sign that your quads are tight because your nervous system, again, is going to want to do the opposite of that stretch and pull the knees in. But you have your back your lower back in a bend here. So then if you just do the opposite and sort of flex your lower back in the other direction, you're just sort of flexing a joint back and forth, and it can weaken it. So after doing back bends from bridge pose to full wheel, anything in between, sometimes our urge is to curl up into a ball and pull the knees in. Do a twist first, reset the spine, relax the lower back in that way, and then if you still feel like you need to pull your knees in, you can. The first person who ever told me that was Erica Cluth. I think that's how you say her last name. But she was teaching at Suka, where I teach now, and she's one of the reasons that I wanted to teach there in the first place. She's such a good yoga teacher. I don't know even if she's teaching anymore, but she's amazing. So we're in the left or the right side now. So again, foot to opposite hand, let your knee sink down towards the ground. And it can really feel like you are fully relaxed, like you don't have any more to give. But then you take a few more breaths, some long intentional exhales, and lo and behold, your leg can relax even more. And I have the same experience. I mean, my leg isn't touching the ground, but when I started, even just a few breaths ago, my leg was way up here, and that felt like it was as far as I could possibly go. And yeah, taking some open mouth exhales, really keeping my focus with the sensation, scanning my hip, scanning my leg for places where I can let go, muscles that are clearly gripping, and letting those go. It's just a lot of body awareness. And this practice is a great way to connect with your body, to get to know your body, and to be able to control it a little bit better. Really being able to relax specific muscles or contract specific muscles. All right. You can walk your foot back onto the ground, lift your hips up off of that block, and I'll demo the other quad stretch. For your quad stretch, you're going to need a wall and a blanket. It's also helpful to have blocks. So do my left side first. You can bring your left knee up against the wall so your toes are facing the ceiling. Hands on your blocks, and this might be where you stay. If this is enough stretch, you can stay just like this. If not, step your right foot forward, and you can stay here or bring your blocks up to a higher level, or walk your hands up onto your thigh. And then once you're here, you can lunge into that front knee, point your tailbone down, make sure your hips are square, and you'll only stay here for about a minute. If you have plenty of time, you can switch back and forth, a minute on one side, a minute on the other side, 3 times through, and that's a good routine for this stretch. And if your quads are really tight, if you sit a lot, this is a stretch you can do every day. Just a minute on each side every day will be very helpful. All right, demo the other side. Right knee all the way to the wall, toes face the ceiling. Again, maybe staying here. Even if you're here, point your tailbone towards your knee. You're trying to lengthen the lower back. You're not dumping into the lower back and sticking your butt out behind you. Nope. Tailbone points down. And then maybe stepping your left foot forward. Making sure you have space for your knee. So you can always pick up your foot, move it forward, or just toe heel your foot forward so that your knee is over your ankle. And then maybe forearms up onto your thigh. Maybe hands up onto your thigh. Right hip rolls forward, lunging into that knee, tailbone pointing down. And then taking that box breath for about a minute. And making sure that you're not bringing all of your tension up into your shoulders. It's easy to really grip onto your leg and hug your shoulders up into your ear and sort of brace against the sensation of the stretch. But try and let all of that go so everything can be relaxed. And having blocks here, you can stack blocks. So you can have a hand on blocks here because you don't want to be worrying about being stable. Again, being stable should not be your focus. You should just be focusing on stretching and relaxing. All right, and then when you're ready, you can come out of it and shake out your legs. And if you're gonna do more than one round, you can go into that right away. So once you've stretched your quads, we're gonna get into the Iliopsoas complex. And if you've ever had any surgeries, like your appendix out or really anything else, belly surgeries, it can be pretty intense to get into your iliopsoas and to get into that scar tissue. But it is actually good to massage scar tissue and to work with it. So that's that. All right, so find your hip bones on the front of your body. You have those hard hip bones, your ascis, anterior, superior iliac spine. Just to the inside of that hip bone is where you're going to want the lacrosse ball. I like to have something to lay over, such as a bolster, to make myself more comfortable. I'll demo my right side first. So I have my chest on my bolster, lacrosse ball just to the inside of that hip bone, inside of the pelvis. And then other knee is going to cock out to the side. And then last adjustment is externally rotate your right leg, the extended leg on the side that you're working on. That'll help to put more pressure onto that lacrosse ball and just get into it a little bit better. And it could feel like stretching in your skin. You're going to be getting through some layers of connective tissue, layers of fascia here. So you're not stretching your skin, you're not damaging your skin. You're just getting into that connective tissue, and that's a good thing. our fascia can get locked up and create impingement just like a tight muscle. So we need to work with it sometimes. Again, whenever you are ready, you can come into the other side. So finding the hard bone of your hip, just to the inside of that is where you're going to want the lacrosse ball. Laying down on your belly. Our right knee comes out to the right. And you can lay flat here. You don't have to be on your bolster or on a pillow. I just find it more comfortable. And then left knee, left toes face out to the left. And you can breathe into your belly, breathe into the stretch. Make sure you're not gripping in your lower back, not gripping in your glutes. Letting all of that soften and get heavy. All right. When you're ready to come off of that, you can. And then we're going to get into the TFL. So we were just on the inside of the hip bone, and now we're going to be right on the outside of it. And it's going to feel like you're just on the bone, right? The TFL, it's a small muscle, tensor fasciae latae, and it is right on the outside of that hip bone. So not on the midline of your hip. Nope, it's going to be forward from that. And I'm going to do my left side first. You'll need your bolster or something to put your knee on that is supportive. I like to start on my back, find my hip bone from there, place the lacrosse ball where I want it, just on the outside of the hip bone, and then roll over onto your side. The left leg is fully extended here. And then top knee on the bolster, and also nice to have a blanket or something handy for underneath your head. And you'll probably feel this down the outside of your leg, maybe even into your ankle or into the bottom of your foot. I feel it. It feels like it's right in my ankle bone, right on the outside of my ankle. But your TFL, it attaches into your IT band, which then attaches into your knee and then keeps, the tension can keep going downstream into your peroneals or other muscles of your shin and then down into your ankle. But this muscle is associated with a runner's knee. So if you happen to be a runner or hiker or something similar and you get a tension in your knee from running, this is usually the muscle that you need to work with to get that to stop. All right, and you can roll onto your back to come out of it. And then I'll demo the other side. So you can bring your bolster over to the other side. Again, plant your feet to find that pointy hip bone. Right on the side of it is where you're going to have the lacrosse ball. And then roll over onto your side. Grab something for underneath your head. And then top knee on your prop. And make sure you're not lifting up that leg, either leg really. Letting your hips be heavy, using props to support you. And that's why I'm such a prop heavy teacher, especially for trigger point, because you don't want to be worrying about if you're balanced laying on your side. You don't want to have to use any muscles to keep yourself here. All of your focus should be on relaxation, on letting go of muscle tension, not on trying to stay stable in a certain position. All right, whenever you're ready, you can come off of that. And once you're on your back, just getting either a figure 4 stretch, so you can cross your ankle over your thigh, press your lower back down, let your knee open up, flex your toes back towards your knees. And you can hold this for really just a few breaths to as long as you want. You can get that on both sides after doing the TFL. And it's also helpful to do a glute max stretch. So I have my right knee pulled in, left leg is long, then I'm going to pull my right knee towards my left shoulder. And you should start to feel it right in the top of your hamstring or maybe across your glute. You can really squeeze that knee across the body towards the opposite shoulder. And again, holding it for a few breaths, up to a few minutes. And then extending that leg, shaking it out, and taking the other side. Knee towards opposite shoulder. And make sure the extended leg is fully relaxed. So if you need to put something behind your knee so that leg can relax, do that. All right. And shake that out. And that is day 2. For day 3, you're going to need some tools. I have a jade roller and a Graston tool that I have put in the freezer. So they're really cold. It helps with inflammation. We'll use these in just a little bit. Right. But before that, we're going to work on neck and jaw today. And we can start with just a neck stretch. So take your right hand, lace your fingers together and take your right hand and bring it over to your left hip. That'll help to really pull your right shoulder down. Inhale. Exhale, bring your left shoulder or your left ear towards your left shoulder. Soften your jaw, soften your eyes. Your spine is still long here, so it's just your neck that is bent. And then start to lean your head back a little bit. So you'll feel the stretch move more into your SCM and scalenes along the front of your neck here, rather than the perfect side of your neck. So you're not leaning your head all the way back. Nope, that's not going to do it. So ear is still towards the shoulder, and then just lean the head back a little bit until you feel that stretch move towards the front of your neck. And our scalenes are actually used for deep breathing. They're attached to the uppermost ribs, and they help those ribs expand for a deep breath. So you can take a deep breath in and hold the breath, sort of engage your scalenes, and then take a really long exhale to allow them to relax, and you might be able to go a little deeper into your stretch. when you're ready, you can roll your head down towards your chest, your chin down towards your chest. You'll switch sides. Left hand to right hip, right elbow is out to the side, sitting up nice and tall. Inhale. Exhale, right ear towards right shoulder. Melting all of the expression out of your face. You can stay here as long as you want, and then lean your head back a little bit. Bring the stretch into scalenes and SCM. And if having your hands like this doesn't work for you, you can also grab for opposite elbows, trying to work your fingers as far over towards your elbows as you can get them. That'll help. Also just reaching your arm towards the ground, your fingers towards the ground. That'll help. It'll sometimes bring more stretch into your deltoid, more sensation there, but also an option. All right, when you're ready, you can roll your chin back to your chest, and pick your head back up. Sometimes it feels good to wiggle out the shoulders, roll out the shoulders a little bit after that. All right, and we're gonna get into the jaw, and sticking your tongue out as far as you can help to relax the back of your jaw, and we can hold a lot of tension in our tongue. So in a yoga class, I teach lion's breath, which is a deep breath in, and then on the exhale, sticking your tongue out, opening your mouth as wide as you can. And you can practice that sort of breath, or what I like to do, especially if I'm in traffic, is just stick your tongue out as far as you can. And sometimes it'll even give you the sensation like you need to cough or you're gonna cough. But that is just the stretch happening, so it's okay. So sitting up nice and tall, open your mouth wide, stick out your tongue as far as you can. All right. You can again hold that as long as you can or as long as you want. And you may cough and then need to come back to it if you are tight in your tongue. And then we're gonna get into our masseters and our jaw. And I'm gonna do that on my belly. It's the easiest way to get the support needed. But essentially, you're gonna use your thumbs, and with your mouth slightly open, you'll feel the inner edge of your masseters if you're pushing back towards the back of your body. And that's where we're going to get into. So, again, having a bolster is helpful if you want something underneath your chest, which I do. Elbows on the ground, that's going to be your support. You're generating your force. And then mouth open slightly. You can make fists, sticking out your thumb. Bring your thumbs to that inner edge of the masseter. And then just slowly let your head relax onto your thumbs. And as you do this, you might drool, so maybe put something underneath your face. And as you relax and feel those muscles soften, you may feel your thumbs sinking deeper
into your face, which can be a little bit unnerving if you've never done it before. So just something to be aware of. It's fine. Those muscles are softening. The fibers are moving around, and that's okay. So again, staying with that as long as you want or need to, and then you can come out of it. I'm gonna kick over this tea. All right, and then we also want to get into the suboccipital muscles. So the muscles right at the base of your skull. And your levators and your traps and other muscles also hook in here, but we have a set of muscles at the base of our skull that hold up our head. So having a block is necessary, and having it on the medium height, you can rest your head back on that block, and you want your chin to be tucked in towards your chest, because that'll give that corner of the block, the edge of the block, the most access to those muscles. And then once you have that set up, you can rock your head right and left. And just massage all of those muscles right at the base of your skull. And you can scoot down a little bit, get more on top of your skull, or not on top of it, but onto the skull. You can also scoot down or scoot up a little bit, scoot the block down so it's right under the ridge of the base of your skull, and massage there. And this should feel pretty nice. You have a bundle of nerves here, and when you press on nerves, it can override any pain receptors. So if you are actively having a headache, for example, and you do this and you press on those nerves, it can override the pain receptors and give you some temporary relief. All right, and yeah, do this as long as you have time for, because it should be pretty relaxing. When you're ready, try not to sit up, because you're going to be straining your scalenes and the muscles of the front of your neck if you do that. So you can roll over onto your side and then press yourself up. You don't want to restrain the muscles that you were just working with. All right, and then the last thing is, if you have some face massage tools, they can be pretty nice. It's good if they are cold, because it can help with inflammation. First, the face roller. I think people generally use them for gentle rolling to deal with inflammation as like a beauty routine thing. I like to grind this into my jaw because it feels good. So you can really just roll over the muscles of your master. And you may feel little knots or little lumps, and you can work on those, just rolling up and down, back and forth, getting all the way underneath your ear. It feels really good to me. Getting really all the way to the back edge of the jaw and just rolling all of those muscles, massaging those muscles with the roller. And I'm using the small side. You can obviously also use the big side, a little bit more diffuse pressure. And you can also get right underneath your cheekbones and really massage into that ridge line of your cheekbone. Ooh, especially right at the joint of your jaw, in the back by your ear. You can sort of feel the ridge line of your cheekbone moving back, and that's the joint of the jaw back here. And right in there can feel really nice, really relaxing. Obviously, you don't really want to be talking while you're doing this. Just relax. You can do it seated. It's also probably even better to do it laying down, because then your neck can be fully relaxed. So you can do this in bed. You can do it laying down if you are, whatever, watching TV or something. And yeah, getting into both sides, obviously, and having it be cold, again, will help with inflammation. So I recommend that. And then this is a different tool. I would call it a Graston tool. I'm sure it has another name, gua sha, I think. Graston tools are typically metal, or at least the ones that I have, but I like the stone one. I like that I can put it in the freezer and it gets nice and cold. And with this one, so right underneath your ear, you can feel the back of your jaw, right? You have this sort of corner of the back of your jaw. And you can get in right behind your jaw and create some space in there. Just wiggling that tool back and forth, a little bit up and down. You don't want to press too hard. You want to be pretty mindful of the sensation here. But you can even get up underneath the jaw, and you're getting into a couple of different muscles here. So you have your SCM, this sort of ropey, meaty muscle that goes across your neck and attaches into your clavicle. Let me turn here. Clutches into your clavicle, runs up the side of your neck, and then attaches up here right underneath your ear. So you can get into that upper attachment of the SCM. And I'm using a rounded corner of this tool, and I'm placing it right at the base of the bone, so you can feel the skull, the bone of the skull, right underneath the ear. Right below that edge is where I'm placing the corner of the tool, and then just scraping down. And again, doing this laying down is a lot better, just more relaxing. And then, yeah, you can do that, of course, on both sides and get into all of those smaller muscles behind the jaw and the attachment for your SCM. All right, and that was day 3. So if you have any questions about any of those days, please let me know in the comments. And until next time, I hope you can let something go.